Hi there YouTube, Extreme Trains here. So in this video we're taking a look at another one of the items that I imported over from the UK because while I've seen the photos and the reports of these engines having landed in some Australian toy stores, I have not been able to locate them in any of the ones that are near me. And so in this video we're taking a look at the extremely highly anticipated Push Along Metal Collection 80th anniversary CGI styled Thomas. What are we waiting for? Let's do it. This is the box of the Metal Collection 80th Anniversary Thomas, and you can see, as these have been widely circulated online, it's a very, very similar box, in fact the same, as the current Metal Collection All Engines Go engines. And so when I was trying to describe to my husband how to find these, I had to explain it like you're looking for something with this little 80th Anniversary logo, because to someone else, you just say, oh, I'm looking for Thomas. Well, in this wave even, there are normal Thomases floating around. So I'm not sure I like the way that Mattel has done this. It makes it very difficult, I think, for parents to understand exactly what they're buying, especially because at least the Greatest Moments packs say like Classic Thomas, but this just says Thomas. And so I think it would be difficult for them to tell necessarily the difference between this design and the AEG design on a first quick glance, especially because it's such a small picture. So while I'm glad we've got some distinguishing features, I do think they could have done a better job here with the branding. So it's really clear if you're explaining to someone what you're looking for, what it is they're trying to find. Come on to the back. Unfortunately, the innovation that we saw, if we can even call it an innovation, that was the different engines on the back of the motorized engines, does not follow through here to our little push-along counterparts, which is very unfortunate. But yeah, there you go. You can see that here. I don't know if that assortment number helps anyone with anything, but yep, there you go. That is Thomas. Now, given that it's already been opened, oopsies, let's take a look at the engine inside. Okay, this is the Thomas Glory in all of its glory, and I'm just going to adjust the light here so we can get a better look at that face. Yeah. Now, a lot of people have said they love the face. I personally think the eyes are a little bit too up pointing. I think I'm fine with having a bit of expression in the faces, for example, a bit of a look to one side, but I think the fact he's looking not just sideways but also up is perhaps a little bit unideal for a quote-unquote standard variant of this Thomas. This feels like the kind of variant that you might include in another pack, because in order to be looking, for him to be looking at you, you've kind of got to be like that almost in order for that to work. I think generally though, it's a fantastic face. It's just I don't like the way the pupils have been printed, but otherwise it is great. You can see here, if we're looking at from the front, very good Thomas details. We've got the buffers here. Unfortunately, no white running board, but we do have a lamp, which is something we haven't seen at this scale, as I understand it, ever, I don't think. If we come down here to the top, you can see we've got the dome, we've got the molded whistles, which is nice, although unfortunately no cab details. I would have liked to have seen these as a sticker, and the reason I say that is just because we've gone back to having a big cab. It's very, very obvious that there is no detail here, and I'll do some comparisons about that soon. We come to the front, you can see, sorry, the side I should say, you can see we've got the classic Thomas detailing. Nice to see we've got the splashes here separately molded. That is a nice touch. We've got the rivet details. It's weirdly inconsistent in that, for example, it doesn't go along these two edges or along this back edge for reasons which are not clear to me, but anyway, here's what it is. You can see we've got a proper cab now. It's actually hollow. If you were clever, you could probably take this apart and put someone or something inside of there. Again, you've got some coal here at the back. It's not the greatest molded coal I've ever seen. It's a bit shapeless and kind of soft in the way that it's molded, but it's something. Come here to the back, we've got the tail lamp is molded in, but unfortunately it is not painted. And equally, again, we've got that weird situation where the back buffers aren't painted, but the front ones are. So It's a decision. And then, of course, I haven't talked about the elephant in the room, which is the new wheel system. And there's a couple of things I want to talk about here. The first thing, and I know that some people have already talked about this online. First thing, obviously, is we've got these side rods here. I think these are really cool. I know some people think they stick out a bit too much from the front and from the side. I personally don't mind that at all. I think it's fine. I think it adds a bit of interest. It reminds me of the way the Erdl ones used to stick out. And I love these new wheels. I think the detailing on them looks great. What I don't love, which is something that I didn't really pick up on until I had this in hand, is just how weird it looks that there's this big, huge space here and that the front wheel is not lined up with the splasher. Now, I thought originally this might be because this was a reused All Engines Go piece, but as far as I can tell, it is a new molded piece for the wheels, so I don't know why they've done this. It helps that this is on a slant, so it's kind of slanting in. I wonder if it has something to do with how they've molded in the funnel and these little braces here at the front. I'm not sure, but yeah, it looks, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And his wheels just should have been shifted forward 2 or 3 millimeters and they would have been perfect. So I don't exactly know why that decision was made. Perhaps it was something about lining up the screws so they could get these pistons in. I don't know. I would love for people to be able, if anyone actually knew, but again, it's a frustrating fail on what is otherwise a really, really cool looking toy. Come to the bottom, we've got Thomas here, copyright 2025, which is interesting. Usually the copyright for the toys is the year before they're released, but this is 2025, which perhaps suggests that these were a relatively recent addition to the lineup. And then the last thing I want to note, and I know some people have noted this online, is if you have a look at the way he's designed, his cab actually slopes inwards. I don't know the best way to explain this, to be honest, but if we look at an All Engines Go one, for example, they are actually straight up and down, whereas if you look at a Thomas one, you can see there's a little, kind of like a tent. He goes in like this towards the cab. So there's a slant inwards here, and there's a slant inwards here, and I don't know why they've done that. I really don't know why they've done that. Was it to like shave down? You can see it better from the back. You can see how this kind of slants in. I didn't mind it when I saw it online, but in person, I actually think that it's really distracting, and I don't know why that is, but it's just, it's similar to this wheel thing. They really, really leaned into accuracy. They included details we've never seen before, like lamps, like molded whistles, like the coupling rods, and yet they've made weird decisions like have this gap here and have this slant in here for the whole body. So yeah, this is, as much as I love this line, as much as Mattel's done an excellent job, and this is a huge improvement on a lot of what we've seen in the last 10 years in terms of Thomas and Friends metal engine merchandise, it is just baffling that they get so close, and similar to the new Trackmaster engines, kind of drop the ball in the last minute. But I'll let you know. You let me know in the comments whether you agree with that assessment. I've been blabbing on about this for almost 6 minutes, just like this. So let's now take a quick look at some comparisons with the other engines we've seen in this kind of line. Right, so I've got a lineup here of engines over the years. I'll put the Thomas Wooden Railway 2.0 on the side, and you can see we've got a bit of an evolution of the most recent versions of Thomas that we've seen in the last 5 or so years. So every time I look at this, I remember what an abomination it was. Obviously, you can see this is the rainbow version of that, but just the proportions were so naff. It was just a disaster. The proportions were naff. The whole front looks naff. We do a comparison with this. Absolutely no context. And it's a contest, I should say. And it is interesting to see that what they've essentially done is by increasing the proportions of this, you can see Thomas again is much taller now. They've kind of they've made it so he doesn't look as wide on the bottom. This one had a very kind of fat look, very, very wide. They've fixed that on this one by extending out the top, similar to what they did with the Trackmaster engine. So yeah, absolutely no competition. This blows this previous version of Thomas so far out of the water, it is not even funny. And you can see every single part is a new part, which is exciting. And then we come to, again, this is another rainbow version because it was the one I most recently reviewed, so it's on my table. This is, of course, the All Engines Go style Thomas versus this one. And you can see, again, size-wise, the All Engines Go one is bigger. It's got that really big face. Overall, there's more engine, if you see what I'm saying, in terms of there's a lot more fullness of this, but they are a similar size, even though there's what looks like more mass or weight in this engine. But otherwise, again, you can see totally different molds for pretty much every single part, including the bottom. And again, this makes me wonder, why didn't they keep this chassis for Thomas? I understand probably they had to do some remolding to get the side rods in, but yeah, this Thomas has that correct proportions of not a big gap at the front. It does have a little bit of a gap, but not a big gap, whereas this one, you can see we've just got a huge gap for some reason. And perhaps when someone takes this apart, as they inevitably will do, we can see how that's all going to look. One thing I'll say is this one is way heavier than this. And then these are about the same. So you are getting a lot more train for your dollar than this one. The other thing to note is I think this is the same face mold, and you in the audience might know, I think it is the same actual face mold. It's just the rest of it's all been changed. That's something to note. The other thing to note too is that, yeah, we don't have a glossy finish on this. It's like a much more satin, almost not even black. It's like a very dark gray, whereas this is a black. It's a shiny black, and I think I do actually prefer this finish versus this one they've gone with here. But that is a little bit of nitpicking. And then finally, again, just to compare, it's your Thomas Wooden Railway 2 version. You can see the difference the proportions make. Like this was, we all said this was an amazing Thomas Wooden Railway Thomas, and again, I think for Thomas Wooden Railway proportions, this was really, really good, but you can see here, this is much more show accurate in terms of the way the proportions are done. But again, we've got the wheels lining up much more closely on this to being underneath the relevant sections. And here, I think, is a great comparison where you can see that this one, it doesn't matter too much that there's no cab detail because it's a very small cab, whereas when you have a big cab like this, that space is really noticeable. But yeah, they're all the comparisons I wanted to do in this video. Quick final thoughts then on the brand new for 2025 classic / CGI styled push along Thomas. Run, do not walk to go get this, and that's what everyone who's already acquired this and reviewed it has said too. It's a fantastic toy. We want to show Mattel that these are fantastic toys. We want to buy. Is it perfect? No. Does it still make some really silly mistakes in terms of trying to capture what it's trying to capture? Absolutely yes. But as a toy, as a train, as a representation of the classic Thomas, I think this is a fantastic another attempt. And it shows that Mattel can do a really good job when they're trying. So it makes you wonder what the heck they were doing in that previous era, you know, Big World, Big Adventures. You went to all that effort to rebrand your TV show, and the toys during that era were terrible. And yet now we don't even have a TV show that goes with this style of Thomas, and they've been able to pull out something like this. So don't know what's going on at Mattel, but they clearly do have very talented toy designers working with them. They just don't seem to be either putting them on the Thomas team or they're giving them really, really weird instructions. This is awesome. Definitely gets a 4.5 stars out of 5. If I was going to give it a rating, go and pick it up. As I said in the leader of this video, intro I should say, ordered this from Prijatelji Thomas in the UK, which means I paid about 2.5 times the retail price in Australia. So I paid about almost $20 to import this, including the proportion of shipping. But when this comes out in Australia, it should be the same price as all of the other metal engines of this size. And for, you know, $6 to $8 as a toy, this is awesome, awesome, awesome value. Definitely go and pick him up. All right. As always, thanks very much for watching. I look forward to hearing about your comments down below. So we've got time for this is Extreme Trains.